I'm Bryan Hyde, and I'm telling it like it is. Listen, just between us, I have a dirty little secret to tell. One of my biggest complaints about talk radio is the fact that so many talk radio listeners and hosts believe in the word magic of labels. And I'm talking about the tendency to want to put a label on people to put them in their place. For instance, conservative versus liberal, or left versus right, or Republican versus Democrat. See, everybody, if we can just stick a label on them, then we can put them in their place, and then you don't have to listen to what they have to say. After all, they've got that label on them, right? No. See, the problem here is life goes beyond labels. And actually, there's a huge tug of war taking place between two forces in our society and in our culture. But it's not the traditional left versus right, conservative versus liberal, or Republican versus Democrat. In fact, those labels are largely irrelevant because there are Democrats who go to church. There are Republicans who smoke pot. They overlap. They don't necessarily apply. If you really want to understand where the struggle for power is taking place, it comes down to the state versus the people, or the collective versus the individual. So the problem with operating under these labels of left, right, conservative, liberal, and so forth is that it puts us into a set of blinders where we can't see that other options may in fact exist. Really, the state versus the people is probably the best description of the tug of war for power that's happening right now. And those who favor using the power of the state to solve every problem in life are embracing a philosophy called statism. Put simply, it's this. Anything that's not under the direct control of the state is by definition out of control. Now, a good way to tell whether or not you're susceptible or maybe showing some symptoms of statism is if you see someone doing something that you don't agree with. Maybe they're smoking a cigarette in public, or maybe they're listening to loud music, or maybe they're espousing political beliefs you don't like. Do you ever say to yourself, there ought to be a law? That's statism. That's using the state to hammer another person, an individual, into shape. Now look, if someone is actually doing something where their behavior negatively affects society, that's one thing. That's where the power of the state rightfully protects our rights. But if it's just a matter of they're doing something that I don't agree with, or their yard doesn't look as nice as I think it should look, so I think the state should step in and make them water their lawn or cut down their weeds, that's an abuse of power. And it's putting the rights of the group over the rights of the individual. That's statism in a nutshell. Now we tell ourselves, oh, it could never be a problem here. After all, we are the freest people who've ever lived on the face of the earth. We say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning in class. We repeat over and over. We can all sing Lee Greenwood's song, and I'm proud to be an American where at least I know I'm free. Well, a German philosopher named Goethe had a quote that said, none are so hopelessly enslaved as those who falsely believe they are free. And if you are embracing statism, if you are embracing the belief that it's the state's job to cure every little problem in life, you're not free. You're surrendering power to the state that it really shouldn't have in the first place. Rights begin with the individual. Assert your rights.